Hello and welcome to R&R's Ask the Expert. I'm Kayla McGowan, Editor-in-Chief, and today we are talking about best practices, emotional impact, and the future of flood response and restoration. My special guest today is Stefan Figley, the president of 1-800 Packouts. I could go on about him, but I think he's a familiar face with our audience, so please welcome Stefan.
Thanks for having me again, Kayla.
Yes, thank you for joining me in the midst of all the chaos going on in your neck of the woods. Down in Texas. I think we're going to cover some really important topics that can help everybody at this point, particularly homeowners as well. And just sharing your insights and education and even lessons along the way, I think are so extremely important. You and I have talked about this before. There's not really seasons anymore, as much as we want to say that there's seasons and the just flooding in general around the country, we know it varies clearly. We've seen it so far this year, and I just really think it's so timely for us to discuss not only our side, but how we can help our consumers plan and better prepare so that they're able to make sure that they get out safely as best as possible.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's been a lot. We've entered hurricane season, which is major in our industry, obviously. But even outside of that, we've seen heavy tornadoes in geographies that aren't used to tornadoes. There's been more and more rain. There's more and more flooding. The Northeast is experiencing some additional
Mhm.
flooding, all the way up in New York. So it's not, there's no geographic area that's only hit by certain types of disasters. And Mother Nature continues to show us that, we can't prepare for everything, but we can prepare for ourselves in the best we can. So yeah, it's been a lot of chaos. I am in Texas, have a lot of connections to the area that was hit. I'm not in the area directly, but we've been working on every element we can from support for people as well as then we'll be ready and are ready for elements of the restoration industry as it comes forward. But happy to have the conversation. There's a lot of things for it, and I know a lot of people could probably add some more as we go through. So
Yeah, and I
it's
would
good.
definitely say, for us, I think we always talk about lessons learned and how we can better prepare and what we can do as professionals, but also what we see our consumers need, right? And so this is very true Kayla and Stefan fashion, if you will, at this point. And I'm so thankful that you're able to share some insights because I know this one really does hit home. But to your point, it can happen anywhere. And how can we
Mhm.
better prepare, And I think um, some things that we don't think about because your adrenaline and even fear takes over when stuff like this happens. What are some of the first steps that homeowners should and can take once floodwaters recede, and why is it so important to quickly act? Because I know it's critical. So can you kind of go into that for me a little bit?
Sure. First and foremost, when you prepare, it's about safety of the people. Belongings are belongings as much as there's a sentimental value to it. We deal with contents. That's what our specialty is. But it is content. It is a possession. Many have sentimental values, sure, but the life of the homeowner and the policyholder, that should be first and foremost. Get out,
Mhm.
prepare that, have exit strategies. The hard part is, and this was happened in an area that had and was in floodplains and so forth. So even though they hadn't had anything like this, I believe they called it the storm of a thousand-year storm. Okay, agreed, but have some exit plans for it. Just you might as well. If you're in the floodplains, you know you have a potential risk of it. Just know what those elements are. Flood waters and rising waters happen at an extreme amount of pace, and the power is unbelievably strong. If you haven't seen it, you think, oh, I can swim through it because I used to swim when I was younger. You can't. Professionals are trained to swim through these types of waters, such as the rescue swimmers and so forth, and they struggle with it. It's not an easy jump in the pool and swim to the
Mhm.
side. And so the other thing, like you said, the adrenaline's rushing. You're in a panic. This happened at night. You can't see anything. You have trees, houses, cars, RVs are coming through at high rates of speed, and we can't stop them. and we get run over by those as human beings. And those are the things and the dangers with it. So, all of that is take that as the priority. Humans take risks, don't take the risk, move, get out if you can ahead of time. There's not a lot of warnings to these things. We get a little more warning, like you said, around you and I were talking earlier. We knew the fires were crouching in LA, where they were coming. People could have a little bit of preparedness, but not a lot.
Mhm.
Hurricanes, it's coming. It's coming somewhere. We get tighter and tighter on where they're going to hit as it gets a little closer to land. So you can do something around that a little bit ahead of time. This didn't. Tornadoes don't. They don't tell you where they're hitting. They don't tell you what they're going to, where they're going to destroy. And so it's just being aware is a main deal for folks. Talking about our industry, documentation, have it stored, what you have, what you own, um, the belongings to it that are yours, so that if they go missing, I mean, people's houses in this situation were just taken straight off their foundations. RV parks where people camped for fun on the Guadalupe River, completely gone. There was not one thing there. What, based on the safety, the next thing then become what are your belongings so that you can try to get back to some normalcy.
Yeah.
So have that. We've talked about this before, I know, but have the inventory, have what you have,
Mhm.
photos of it, records of it, anything that you can do. Store it in a safe place. If it's a list, make sure it's saved in the cloud somewhere, not just in your house,
Yeah.
etc. Those are some of the things that you need to prepare for a little bit as a homeowner. So
Yeah, and I would definitely say to your point about like even swimming in that water, to your point, I mean, vehicles. And I think even after we saw the water recede, essentially, there were RVs and vehicles underneath all of the sludge.
mhm.
I mean that it's very powerful. I personally live in Las Vegas, and when we see stuff like that, we get warnings. For us, it's a little different, right? Because, well, we don't have anything here. And personally as a local, I don't leave my house if I'm being quite honest, and it's because it happens so fast. I mean, it you could be driving along the road and then just all of a sudden the road is washed out. And for you guys, I can't even imagine at night you can hardly see anything. And that's scary too, just in general with the site itself. And this is it's to your point, you can't really swim in this. Even the
No.
best trained have troubles with that. And it's all about safety. Higher ground obviously is where you'd want to go to. And preparation is everything. Documentation, photos, to your point, in the cloud. I know we've talked about this before, but I think it just echoes that even if it's a different situation, the preparedness portion of it is so crucial, for when that time does come. That's one less thing you do have to worry about, and you can just focus on you and your families and friends' safety and getting to a safer place. So you're not worried about that.
Yeah.
I think we've talked about preparedness every single time we've spoke, and it's just going to be a constant theme because that's one of the most important things is safety, right? Yes, sentimental value things would are hard to lose and hard to replace, but at the end of the day, if you're able to sit and look at your family, at the end, that's priceless,
Yeah. And
especially for us.
you bring it up, and when we kind of turn this back over to the industry a little bit, those of us all in the restoration industry, we see this more than probably folks can imagine. But it's like, what's your coverage in your homeowner's insurance? What does it cover? Many homeowners insurances do not have flood coverage. It's an extra thing that has to be purchased. Well, how do you know if you need it or not? It's how it's defined. Rising water is considered flood water. It's not covered in a lot of policies. That's what happened in the Asheville area, North Carolina, with Hurricane Helene. It was rising water, and then all of a sudden that wasn't covered. And
Mhm.
so take a look at that. Understand based on where you are, you can judge your risks. Obviously, that's what you'll choose. Um, Insurance carriers will probably love it that we pitch that, hey, double check, get the flood insurance potentially, but it makes a difference. I had a lot of people over the last week or so that are around here in the Texas area saying, man, I live somewhat close to this river. Maybe I should be looking at that. It's not an outrageous addition, because it'll help you get back on your feet quicker versus, oh, you don't have it, that's not covered. And you're going to see that in Texas right now is there's a lot of folks that didn't have the right coverage for what disaster happened.
Mhm.
And that's going to put them in another stressful situation as they try to recover not just the mental element of it, but the physical element when we get towards our industry and where we are. And so again, it's a preparedness element. You don't necessarily want to deal with it. It's a cost, but review it, understand it so you know as a homeowner, especially if you're near some elements that could do something like that, like a lake or a river, et cetera. Just understand that. So you're a little more well versed in it. You don't have to know everything, but double check it. And here's a heads up to everybody to give it a quick look.
Yeah, and I would definitely say it is a cost, but it's also an investment, right?
Yes.
Because to your point, if you don't have it, that's more of a financial burden, along with the mental, right?
Yep.
There's definitely layers to it. And I would definitely say for those listening, maybe it's the time to maybe reassess or reevaluate the coverage that you do have, because at the end of the day, we all are insured, right? In some capacity. And so, that's definitely really important because this is only the tip of the iceberg for
Yep.
our industry, right? They're still in phase one of recovery. And so
Yes.
we're going to see and probably hear this constant theme, which is very unfortunate, but it's not uncommon for actually southern states, if I'm not mistaken. I lived in Arkansas and it was very hard to get flood coverage. And if we got it, it was really expensive. So I think that there's some things that you do have to consider. But again, all down to preparedness and see it as an investment, not a cost, for if something like this does happen to you. When the restoration phase comes, there's a lot that goes behind it for industry professionals. And can you take a second and kind of explain the science behind drying and decontamination in the process and
Yeah.
what makes it effective in preventing very long-term damage? I know there's a lot of elements for this particular instance, but can you kind of dive into that?
Sure. And I'll talk mostly on the content side. The structural as well. Structural drying is going to be extremely important. And as we go through this, at this stage, if we talk about this one specifically, there's going to be some dynamics to it because of its location. And you have to take the relative location into account. Like you said, as the water subsides and getting in there and trying to get things done, you want to get drywall off the wall, for example, and even if it's before a restoration company actually comes in, because what happens is if it's done and it's drying on its own and it's sitting untreated for 24 to 72 hours, especially where this one is, the humidity elements that are here, you're going to have mold spores. It just does not matter. They're coming. The faster you can deal with it, the faster you can get it dried out, and not just sit and basically be an incubator for such things with the humidity still moist. It's going to grow. It's the same thing when you get to contents. And I won't talk too deep on the mitigation side of the structural drying and so forth. Other groups can talk a lot about that, but you want to try to start getting things dried off the fastest you can. The longer it sits on belongings, furniture, clothing, textile elements, the more chances they're going to be a total loss. The mold spores will grow. We don't want that as humans. It's dangerous to us. It can be dangerous. You don't want to do that. So can you do it? Can you dry? So number one is drying. It doesn't matter. It's dry. Content is literally there's four elements. Dry it, determine if it's salvageable and reinspect the elements. If it is, then how can we clean and restore them? And then we deodorize. So there's just different elements to that, and that's what we would do. So everything for us would be we want to try to get it. We want to start drying it. So that's the really putting in utilizing a drying chamber. You're going to do dehumidifiers. Um, hydroxyl machines, drying chambers, just rooms that are done to dry out materials. You don't have to do anything, but it'll go for hours, sometimes 12, depending on how big a room that you're putting it in, how all the
Mhm.
materials, et cetera. We get that, then let's refigure out and re-examine everything where we're at. That's how we would do everything. So that is this something that could be restored or cleaned, and then it's back to good use? Or is this a total loss? And so that'll be re-inspected. In the insurance world, there's going to be certain elements that they're going to say, nope, that's total loss. Then you get to the sentimental value element. And so that kind of takes you off into a different area where we have to say, yes, that's sentimental value. How much do you want to deal with this? There's a cost to deodorizing it, getting it back to us, or even better than where it was. So there's an element to that that has to be taken in, and that's a personal area. Insurance may say, no, it's gone, we're
Yeah.
out. But a person may say, no, that was my child's lovey. I really want to try to get it back. There's ways that contractors will work, hold harmless. This is the status. This is what we can do for it. This is how much it'll cost. And then with insurance or without insurance, the homeowner is going to take that decision in on their own. But once that's done, there are all sorts of elements that you can do for cleaning. Whether it's air pressure, high air pressure brushes, microfiber towels, ultrasonic cleaning, all of the elements to literally get everything back to where you really want it and it's safe. And then the last part of that would be to deodorize. So it probably does have some odor because the molecules have changed by sitting wet in a humid environment. And the idea in deodorization is not to cover or mask the smell, it is to remove the smell. And so there are processes to do in the right products that actually change the molecules of that uh, odor, if you would, to remove it. It'll neutralize it or put it into some other odor that is a more pleasant and sustainable odor, if you will.
Yeah,
And you get
yeah,
into some, then we can get all technical on it. I'm not, that's not my expertise, but
yeah.
I know enough to how we're going to process it, and that's what we would do. That's what everybody will do in this industry with folks.
I will I will definitely say too, it all comes down to the right processes and procedures, right? And even the products. You have to use them properly, and
Yes.
in the right order. That's also very important. And I would definitely say too, this is not just I left my sink water on situation.
Yeah,
There
it's
you're
Cat 3
there's
water. Flood water is going to be immediately Cat 3.
Mhm.
And so with that comes an immediate total loss on certain items. Children's items, for example, almost all the time they're total loss. The reason is safety.
Yeah,
And so that's where the homeowner has to make some judgments on that is their blanket from when they were a baby and they love it. And, those are major sentimental value elements. And then the question is just, can you or can you not? Is it a potential restorable item? Insurance may say, no, it's not, it's a blanket. They do not
Mhm.
have a sentimental, an adjuster will definitely move with it a little bit, but at a certain point, they're not spending $100 to restore something on a $20 blanket.
Yeah,
It just, that's it's a business, it's logic. You have to understand that as a homeowner. Um, we understand that as contractors. There's many in our industry that would say, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, we understand this is where this all stands. I mean, we can give it a shot. Here's what it would cost for us to do that. That's probably not going to be
Mhm.
covered. And there would be some owners that say, hey, I want to give that shot.
Yeah,
And that's fine. A lot of it's going to be really how long it's been submerged in water, how long it's been unsubmerged in water, and sitting around in humidity wet. That's going to be a
yeah,
dictator of really, is this a safe attempt, if you would? And that's the things that'll be tested. Um, Really, you should be making sure if you're a homeowner, making sure the contractor's doing the testing. You don't want something that has mold on it coming back
yeah.
if you're even going to take the chance of doing something. So,
Yeah, and I would definitely say there's just so many variables, right? It also depends on the materials, to your point. I mean, there's just so
100%.
many different layers to it. And I think, there's just some things as myself, as a consumer would be like, sorry, I kind of have to have this, like let's see what it costs. And that's what we're faced with, right? As professionals,
Mhm.
and you empathize with them because you know that if that were you, you'd have those same decisions to make. And so, you
100%.
know, as long as we're treating them with compassion and care and sympathy and empathy, I think that it does make a world of difference because I know that you handled quite a few instances where sometimes even your consumers thought, oh my gosh, maybe we'll never see this again. And you guys were actually able to save it. And I mean, that is just,
Those are the
I don't
fun
even,
parts of our industry, and us at Packouts, everybody in the industry, we have stories like that, absolutely. And I don't think there's one of us that would say that's not one of the best parts of being in this industry is you get to create magic. You brought something back that they thought was gone. Sure, it's just not always possible, and establishing those expectations of that homeowner is important in that situation.
yeah,
And so, sure, we can do a lot of things. There's a lot of stuff out there from products and using it, like you said, in the right manner, safely. Ultrasonic tanks can do more than you could ever imagine. And a lot of times things are brought back in better shape and condition and cleanliness than they were before they even were through a disaster. Absolutely. But like you said, there's some things that once you go through this are non-salvageable. Particle board, anything made out of particle board, do not expect to, even as a contractor, we probably would tell you, no, we will not go after restoring that.
yeah,
It gets in, it sticks into the material, and it's just not possible to do with it. And it's by the time you even could get anywhere close to getting it safe, you could have replaced it. So there's a lot of times you hear non-salvageable replace.
yeah,
Electronics fall into that a lot of times. It's like it's probably by the time yeah, you can clean it, you can get it done, but if you paid $500 by the time you put in the labor and the cleaning and everything to get a
hmm
40-inch TV cleaned, you could have bought it for $250 or something. I don't know. But I
yeah,
mean, that's the mentality that insurance takes. As homeowners, we should unfortunately put our minds to that a little bit. And I think a lot of people do. Heck, a lot of people that I've seen, they're like, oh man, that TV's toast. Yeah, I get a new TV.
yeah,
So some of those that are not as personal, um, it it's easier to deal with. It's when you,
yeah.
like you said, you get to those real personal elements, heirlooms. We've talked about this before in other conversations around personal belongings, heirlooms, how you deal with them. There are experts that can even help on art and antiques.
hmm
That wouldn't be something that like we would do. We'd make sure we get that to the right person, right type of people that specialize in those things. But that a lot of it is personal versus what is seen as value, and that's a balance in the insurance world that you'll face. So,
Yeah, and I will definitely say too, it's just one of those things you have to make a decision. And you have to try and support their decision as best as you can and also play devil's advocate at times, right? But I would definitely say there's no better feeling than seeing, to your point, a smile on their face or just relief that, oh my gosh, I didn't think I was ever going to see this again. And that is something that is so priceless. And also just as a constant reminder why we do what we do, right? And bringing in that light in a very dark time, um, probably does so much for them, more than we could ever imagine, truly. I mean, so many people unfortunately lost their lives in this particular instance, and I can only imagine the sentimental items that are going to be really a key focal point for those who have to make decisions. And I pray for everybody that most of it is salvageable, right? And so that people do have that opportunity to hang on to something from their family or their loved
yeah.
ones or what have you, because that is going to be such a crucial part of what our industry does.
Yes.
And it's going to be a world of difference. It's going to be worth all of the blood, sweat, tears that goes into it. Because at the end of the day, this is something that affects these people's lives for the rest of their lives, right?
Yeah. And you're talking about the situation right now in Texas, but it happened in the Tampa area and for the Hurricane Milton.
Hmm.
It isn't in one catastrophe, it's in all catastrophes.
Yeah.
And so just like you said, the sentiments that you just said are applicable at all times. So it is something that it's there for us as in our industry. This is what we do. We see it. We've become a little bit numb to it, but I tell you, we aren't numb to it all. There's things that we're used to, is the way I would say it. It's not numb. Probably if you're numb to it, it's almost time to get out. I
Yeah.
think potentially, and the folks that I talk to, almost everybody. I mean, no one's even close to being numb to the elements of it, and that's great. That's what we're here to do and try to deliver. And so that's the key in our industry, like you said.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And I will definitely say we're all human at the end of the day, right? So,
Yep.
even though if you've seen it maybe 20 times, one instance may just really set you off, and
Yep.
I think we've seen a lot in 2025. We're a little more than halfway through, and I think we've seen things this year that we didn't even think we'd probably see in at all if we even saw it. And so I think that, just preparation, mentally, physically, product wise, everything goes into this no matter what it is. And I think, honestly, I feel like our industry has been hit pretty hard, with trying to do everything that we can, and I think, when it comes to content, it's an art, right, for
Yes,
you
sir.
guys. And when you're making those decisions with the homeowners on, replacement, is it cost effective? Is it what type of value is it? Is it financial or is it emotional? There's so many variables that go into it, and it's not an easy job or task at
Yeah.
all, you know?
And that's going to be, you just hit on something I think that's going to be very big in this situation. In Texas, it was a big one for Hurricane Helene in the Asheville area because a lot of the things are going to be claimed as not covered under the insurance. Then enter FEMA, for example. What do you get and what's covered and help from there? It won't be as much. And so there is a decision, financial decision from homeowners on what to do next and how much to put into different things. So I think that's a different ballgame than, for example, in Hurricane Milton, where it was storm related and categorized that way. And so, again, knowing what happens in those situations, it's going to be in our industry too. We have to work with those homeowners a little bit so they understand it. They understand that it is a cost to them to do certain things, whether it's rebuild, um, get the mitigation done, but you need to do it. You're going to have to dry your walls with a mitigation contractor to remove the potential of mold. That's dangerous in the long run. That's not a corner you want to cut, and
Mhm.
how you do that, et cetera. I mean, those are going to be the balances that are a little bit different in each situation, like you said. So um, for this one,
Yeah, and I would definitely say, to your point on situations and things like that, I think 2025 has really proved to us that there is a big change, in our atmosphere, in our weather, and even the services that we're going to, really emphasize on utilizing for our customers. And, flooding happens to be the hot topic right now because it is affecting several areas, not just one or two. It's all over. Do you see, potentially packouts and restoration services just really amping up even more, in disaster response than it already has? I mean, most times you hear, oh, flash flood, right? Maybe little things happen here or there, but I think this year's weather and natural disasters have really made us open our eyes this year.
well, I think as an industry, we're prepared for catastrophes. I mean, for us, we have a catastrophe annex that's there to support our franchisees, which are our offices around the country, so that if there is a catastrophe, it allows folks to mobilize. In what you'll find in one of the hardest things that happens in a catastrophe, there is just not enough contractors to do the work as quickly as a homeowner will want it. And that's going to start when they need to go to their insurance company. And there's only so many people and adjusters that can go and process the claims for you. And so you and I have always talked about timing. If something's happened, I know you're as a homeowner, you're reeling from it, you're trying to deal with it. the quicker you get started on the insurance process to get there, it basically becomes a long line, and you want to get in, start getting everything into the mix because it just doesn't happen quickly. It takes a process, and once that comes through from the adjusters, they're getting the claims out. Then it's a capacity on contractors that can actually get there and do the work, and so you enter another line. Basically, you've gone from one line and you're through and you're into the next line. And I hate to say that it's that type of flow, but it is. So getting in, getting the process, working the right system, um, it will help you get back to more normalcy quicker than before. But as for that, I think there's several. I mean, there's a lot of folks in this industry in all elements of it that are prepared to mobilize into catastrophe areas to help everybody in that situation, all the way from adjusters. We have a couple of franchise owners that operate 1-800 packouts that are also catastrophe adjusters. So for hurricanes Milton and Helene last year, they left their location, which is up in the northern Midwest area, and they were in the Florida and North Carolina area for 3 to 4 weeks writing extra claims so that homeowners could get through the process. And that's how the industry adjusts and tries to help with it, but it's still an enormous amount of capacity that's needed to do it. Then you get the build back and you're into contractors that need wood. I mean, it's so consumable elements that go into it. There's so many factors when there's that much rise in volume at one time. Um, and so are we prepared for it? To some degree, yes. It's just there are people out there and ready to go and help everybody. So we continue to look at it. I think more and more companies are trying to prepare for it, like you said.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we only have what we could even maximize. So yes, I think some are.
Yeah, and I would definitely put into perspective too that, there's way more homeowners than contractors. So of course it's going to take time. And I just think, little by little we will be able to tackle those things. But it's just going to take time, right? But preparation is really key when something like this does happen as well,
Yes.
right? And I think taking the time to do stuff like this to educate not only our professionals, but our consumers also help in the long run of things because it also shows where we can collaborate and provide efficient and effective information for all parties involved, right? Because at the end of the day, it affects everybody in this process. So I would
Yes.
definitely say, we'll learn some more lessons from this event, just like we did. During the fires and, hurricane season is here, like you mentioned. And so, there's so much to do. There's so much to learn and there's so much to talk about. But I really want to take a moment to just say thank you for taking the time to discuss this with me. I know that you are in Texas and some of this really does hit home for you. And so, I want to say thank you to you, your family, your team, everybody for all that you guys do. And I hope you guys all stay safe out there. And if there's anything that we can do, we will definitely be there to help you along the way.
We appreciate that. And I don't represent everybody in the area, but I know that all the wishes and the help that's coming in has been good for them and supportive. And we've done it. I've done it on a personal level for many. And I think it's great. You and I spoke about it. People are rallying together to help in such a situation. And we're there as an industry. And then once, everything starts to need to get built back, we're there and that's what we do. And so I think everybody will be able to do it. It hit an area where there's a lot of folks that can do this. So they're all ready to get out there and help where needed. So we all
yes.
appreciate it.
Yes, and I will definitely say, this industry is very unique. It takes a very strong individual to do what we do every single day, to your point, Stefan, and I know that we are doing the best that we can, and I know that everybody that's being helped is very thankful as well. And I can't wait to have you on again and talk about the next part of preparedness and whatever we see our way,
Yeah.
but as always, it's always a pleasure. I'm so thankful to have you on and talk about this. But I would like to say, thank you for everybody watching, and we can't wait to see you on the next episode of Ask the Expert. Take care.